Forgotten echoes the desert stretched endlessly, cracked stone and sand burning beneath a twin sun. Wind carried dust across abandoned ruins, black towers that leaned like broken teeth. Most avoided this place. The Seraph priests called it haunted ground. Their ancestors spoke of shadows that once walked the stars, beings who built and destroyed in the same breath. They called them the ancients. But in truth, no one believed they were real anymore. Except for Elias Ward, he was not Seraph, not of their people. A human scarred, worn, no longer young, he lived on the edge of their city as a hired mechanic, repairing machines that the Seraph half understood. To them, technology was ritual. To Elias, it was memory. He had been a soldier once. He had fought on faraway colonies, seen humanity bleed. He had come here to disappear. But today, in the ruins, he found something that refused to stay buried. The ground had split open after a quake, revealing a chamber deep beneath. Stone steps led down into blackness. Against every warning, Elias descended with a lamp strapped to his shoulder. The walls glowed faintly, as if remembering power. Symbols older than language stretched in spirals. He touched one, and it flared bright. At the chamber center was a machine. It was vast, like a heart of metal, pulsing faintly as though waiting. Not Seraph, not any known species. When Elias approached, his lamp flickered and died. The chamber filled with low hums, deep enough to rattle bone. A voice, not spoken, not heard, but felt in his skull. Human returner, you are late. Elias froze. His breath caught. What are you? He whispered. We are you. You are us. Fragments scattered, forgotten. You awaken what should never have slept. The air turned colder. The walls showed. Visions war fleets tearing across galaxies. Human figures crowned in fire. Entire civilizations bowing or burning. Elias staggered back. That's not us. We never. The voice rumbled, shaking the floor. You are descendants. The galaxy does not know, but it will remember. The machine surged. Energy climbed, spreading like veins across the chamber. Above, in the city, the Seraph saw black towers blaze alive for the first time in 10,000 years. Priests screamed. The galaxy had whispered of the ancients in hushed fear, believing them. Long dead. But now, one of their heirs had touched the heart of their power. And in that moment, far away across the stars, fleets stirred. Old enemies trembled, because the ancients were human. And humanity had just been rediscovered. Asterisk shadows. Over Sarid, the Seraph city, carved into cliffs of red stone, trembled under the sudden awakening. Ancient towers pulsed with a deep crimson glow, casting shadows that felt alive. Crowds filled the streets, frightened, chanting old prayers. Among them was Koresh, a young Seraph historian. Her scales shimmered faint blue under the suns, and her 4 dark eyes locked on the towers with both awe and dread. She ran toward Elias's shack, breath tight, robes whipping around her. She burst inside to find him poring over old schematics on his battered datapad. You did this, she accused, voice sharp. Elias looked up, tired eyes narrowing. If by this you mean steps somewhere I shouldn't have, then maybe. But I don't understand it either. Koresh slammed her hands on the table. The towers are sacred. They warned us of a time when the old fire would return. And you touched it? He didn't answer. Instead, he tapped the datapad. Images replayed those visions the machine had shown him. They said we were them, or part of them, the ancients. Koresh, they were human. Her frills stiffened in disbelief. Impossible. Humans are small, fragile. You bleed like water. The ancients were fragile once too. Elias cut in, his tone low. But they built, they fought, they became something terrible. And maybe We're what's left. Koresh stepped back, horror etched across her alien face. Before she could answer, the ground shook again. Outside, a scream. Both rushed to the cliff edge. Above the city, black shapes pierced the clouds. Ships sleek, curved, bristling with weapons. The Vadran ascendancy. They descended not like strangers, but like predators answering a scent of blood. Koresh's voice trembled. They know. Elias clenched his fists. Yeah, and they're afraid. As the first blast struck the outer district, Elias realized the truth. The galaxy wasn't coming to welcome humanity, not it was coming to erase them. Again. Asterisk the first siege, the first blasts came like thunderclaps. The cliffs shook, ancient. Stone splitting as beams of searing green tore into the lower districts. Markets, homes, workshops all swallowed in fire. The screams carried on the wind, a rising chorus of terror. Koresh clutched the edge of the cliff wall, her frills pressed tight against her neck. Her voice cracked. They're not even warning us. They're slaughtering. Elias's jaw clenched. He had seen this before, on too many colonies. He knew the signs of a purge. No negotiations, no demands. Just erasure. They're here to wipe the slate, he muttered, pulling her back. The Vadrans aren't afraid of you, Koresh. They're afraid of me, of what I woke up. Koresh turned, her 4 eyes wide. Then you must hide. If they take you, they won't take me, Elias said grimly. They'll kill everyone. Until the secret's buried again. Another explosion shook the city. Stone dust rained down from the cliffs. People poured through the narrow alleys, shrieking prayers to the sky. Elias grabbed Koresh's arm. Where's your city's defense grid? She shook her head, scales pale. The grid hasn't worked in centuries. Show me, Elias cut in. They ran through winding passages, smoke curling into the air. Vadran dropships screamed. Overhead, spilling armored soldiers into the streets. The soldiers were tall, insectoid in form, with hard black carapaces and mandibles clicking. Their weapons hissed with plasma bolts that tore through stone and flesh alike. Sereth militia tried to resist ceremonial spears, low-powered rifles, desperate courage. They fell in heaps. Koresh led Elias into a cavern beneath the central spire. Dusty consoles lined the walls, symbols etched deep with age. A massive dish above connected the grid across the cliffside. This hasn't powered on in generations. Koresh warned. Good thing I don't care about tradition, Elias grunted. He yanked open a panel, exposing snarled wiring. He dug into his satchel, pulling out coils, tools, scraps of circuitry he'd hoarded from repair jobs. Koresh hovered, wringing her hands. You can't just touch the sacred circuits. There are rituals, protocols. Rituals don't stop plasma bolts, Elias snapped. His fingers worked fast, stripping wires, cross-connecting nodes, bypassing dead relays. Sweat dripped down his temple as sparks stung his skin. The console sputtered. Lights flickered, dim at first, then growing brighter. Koresh gasped. You actually... Don't thank me yet. Elias slammed a switch dot above. The cliffside tower shuddered. Plates unfolded like wings, humming with power. Ancient. Cannons long thought dead swiveled toward the sky. The next, Vadran. Bomber screamed down in a strafing run, and the tower answered. A beam of pure white fire lanced upward, slicing the bomber in half. The explosion lit the entire city. For a moment, just a moment, Sereth cheered. But victory was short. The Vadran fleet adjusted. Larger ships descended, shields glowing. Dozens of dropships spilled out, a swarm of soldiers marching through smoke and flame. Elias watched the console readings. The grid's power is bleeding out. Half the capacitors are cracked. The conduits are rotted. We've bought time, nothing more. Koresh stepped closer, voice low. Time may be enough for people to flee into the caves. Elias, you gave. You as a chance. Elias stared at the glowing cannons, their light trembling. I've seen this dance before. They'll crush you harder now to set an example. They don't just want to win, Koresh. They want to burn the memory of this city so no one even whispers about it again. Her voice shook. And you? What will you do? He looked at her, tired but steady. What I've always done. Hold thee. Line until I can't. The fighting grew worse by the hour. Streets turned into battlegrounds. Elias fought alongside desperate Seraph militia, teaching them to use cover, to aim for the joints in Vadran armor. He repurposed mining charges into improvised bombs, wiring them beneath archways where soldiers marched. Entire squads vanished in fire. Koresh became his shadow, carrying ammunition, shouting warnings, pulling the wounded to safety. She had never fought before. Now her hands shook with blood. Still, the enemy pressed harder. For every Vadran Elias brought down, 5 more emerged from the smoke, and then the sky itself tore open. A shadow fell over the city as the Vadran dreadnought descended, blotting out both suns. Its cannons were the size of towers, glowing with the power to level continents. Koresh whispered, voice broken. There is no defense for that. Elias's stomach sank. He knew she was right. Asterisk the dreadnoughts comes blared across the city. In harsh, insectoid tones, surrender the human, the one who awakened the old fire. Deliver him, and the rest of you may live. The words echoed through every street, every cavern. Eyes turned. Even the militia faltered. Koresh's gaze snapped to Elias. Fear and loyalty battled inside her dot. He saw it. He understood. I won't ask you to choose, Elias said quietly. But if you hand me over, they'll kill me, and then they'll kill you anyway. That's how tyrants work. Tears welled in her alien eyes. Then what hope is there? Elias took a slow breath. His voice hardened. The same hope humanity's always had. We fight dirty. We think sideways. We never give them what they want, not the way they want. He raised his weapon, a battered old rifle, and checked its charge. Come on. If they want me, they'll have to work for it. The next hours blurred. Streets ran with fire and dust. Elias became a phantom in the alleys, striking, vanishing, striking again. He led squads of militia into ambushes, turned, broken machines into traps, even hotwired a transport skimmer into a suicide missile that tore through an entire column of Vadrans. But the tide was endless. For every alley held, another fell dot at last. In the shadow of the central spire, Elias's rifle clicked empty. Smoke burned his lungs. His body ached with exhaustion. Koresh was at his side, clutching a bloodied spear. They're breaking through Elias. There are too many. He looked up. HFY soldiers surrounded the plaza, their black armor glinting. Behind them strode a towering figure clad in crimson plates, an overseer. Its mandibles clacked, its voice a hiss like knives. The human lives. Take him. Elias raised his fists anyway. Come try. But Koresh screamed as the soldiers swarmed. He was beaten down, weapons ripped from his hands. Cold restraints snapped around his wrists. The overseer loomed over him, eyes burning. The galaxy remembers what you are. We will erase you again. Elias spat blood at its feet. Funny thing about erasing us. We've got a habit of coming back. The overseer struck him, and darkness took him. Asterisk the enemy's truth. Elias woke to the hiss of recycled air. His head throbbed. The cell was dim, metal walls humming with low vibration. Shackles bound his wrists to the floor, cold and unyielding. His tongue tasted of blood. He had been in prisons before, pirate holds, enemy barracks. even once in a human military brig. But this one felt different. The walls weren't just metal. They listened. He could feel it, as though the cell itself was alive, waiting for weakness. The ship groaned around him, vast engines vibrating. He guessed it was the flagship, the dreadnought he had seen blotting out the suns. Footsteps echoed. The door split. Open, light spilling in. A figure ducked inside. The overseer, clad in crimson plates, taller than any soldier, its insectoid frame gleamed. Mandibles clicked as its multifaceted eyes studied him. A translator orb hovered beside its head, voice buzzing through. "You bleed easily. How weak your kind has become." Elias smirked, though it hurt. "I've heard worse insults from drill sergeants." The overseer leaned closer. "Do you know who you are, human? What you represent?" Elias stayed silent. The overseer's mandibles scraped, amused. "Of course you don't. Your people erased themselves to escape the weight of what you were. But we remember. The galaxy remembers." It tapped a claw against the wall. The cell shimmered. A projection filled the air, holograms of war, gigantic ships blackening the stars. Armies of humans in armor like living steel. Planets burning. Cities bowing in chains. Elias's breath caught. He had seen war, yes, but nothing like this. The overseer's voice deepened. "You were the ancients, the conquerors. You ruled this galaxy when we were still climbing from mud. You built machines that could hollow stars. You made slaves of empires, pets of species. You were gods and demons. And then, the hologram shifted, human fleets turning against each other, fire consuming the sky, worlds breaking apart. You destroyed yourselves. Your empire collapsed under its own hunger. We thought you gone forever. But some fragment endured, sleeping, hiding, waiting." Elias whispered, "That's not us. Not anymore." The overseer loomed, mandibles flexing. "It does not matter. You carry their blood, their memory. If the galaxy learns that humans are the ancients reborn, panic will sweep like wildfire. Entire coalitions will collapse. Worlds will burn themselves rather than serve you again." It leaned closer, voice cold as vacuum. "We will not let that happen. Better your kind die forgotten than rise remembered." Elias clenched his jaw. He wanted to deny it, to scream it was lies. But the visions he had seen in the ruin, the machine's voice, it all matched. Humanity hadn't just been explorers. They had been tyrants too. The overseer straightened. "You will not leave this ship alive, nor will your world. Already, my fleet cleanses it. The desert, the towers, the people they burn. And when we are finished, the secret dies with them." Rage flared in Elias's chest. He pictured Koresh, defiance, her fear, her hope. The thought of her lying among the ashes, twisted like a knife. He leaned forward against his shackles, teeth bared. "You're afraid. That's why you're talking so much. You think you're strong, but deep down, you know the truth." The overseer tilted its head. "And what truth is that?" Elias's voice was a growl. "That we're not done. Humanity doesn't stay buried. We crawl out of the grave, every damn time. And when we do, we fight like hell." The overseer struck. Him, claws raking his shoulder. Blood splattered the floor. Elias hissed, but didn't scream. The overseer straightened, voice flat. "Your courage will not save you. Tomorrow you will be dissected, your mind pulled apart. The galaxy will never learn what you are." The door sealed, leaving Elias in the dark. For a long time, Elias lay still, blood seeping, anger burning. Then he noticed it, a faint hum beneath the floor. Not the steady rhythm of the engines. Different, intermittent. He closed his eyes, feeling it through his shackles. A current, a power loop. He smiled. cracked lips bleeding. "Hello there, weakness." Hours passed. A guard brought food, a gray nutrient block. Elias waited until the guard left, then bent the block against the shackle joint, leaving paste smeared inside. Moisture hissed, seeping into the circuit. He pressed his shackles against the floor. Sparks danced. The current jolted, surged, then shorted with a pop. The restraint clicked open. Elias chuckled hoarsely. You never chain a mechanic. The corridors beyond were a maze of black steel, lit by pulsing green. Vadran soldiers stalked in patrols, their insect limbs clattering on the floor. Iolis moved like a shadow. He stripped a fallen soldier of its sidearm, a plasma pistol, heavy and hissing. He kept low, slipping through shadows, listening. Through one viewport he saw it, the burning of Sereth below. The city was fire and smoke, the ancient towers crumbling under orbital bombardment. His chest tightened. Koresh, please be alive. He forced himself onward. At last, he reached the command deck. Through the open arch, he saw a vast control sphere. Dozens of Vadran officers clicking at consoles. And there, looming at the center, another projection. Not war. Not history. A map. Elias's heart stopped. It showed dozens of human colonies, marked in red. Worlds hidden on the fringes. Old refugee outposts, forgotten settlements. And around them Vadran fleets converging. They weren't just burning Sereth. Were preparing to wipe out every human world left. A guard spotted him. Shouts filled the deck. Elias ducked behind a console, plasma bolts sizzling past. He fired back, shots ripping through chitin armor. Alarms wailed. Lights turned blood red. Overseer's voice thundered across the ship. Asterisk, the human has escaped. Seal every corridor. Do not let him reach the hangar. Elias gritted his teeth, ducking blasts. His mind raced. He couldn't stop the fleet alone. But maybe, just maybe, he could cripple this dreadnought. He saw it then, a reactor conduit, glowing beneath the deck. Exposed, vulnerable. He aimed, fired. The deck exploded in sparks, consoles bursting into flame. Officers shrieked as the entire command sphere shook. Elias sprinted into the smoke, heart pounding. He wasn't just escaping. He was starting a war. Asterisk, fire awakens. The dreadnought shook like a wounded beast. Sparks rained from ruptured conduits. Alarms shrieking through every deck. Vadran soldiers clattered in panic, voices hissing as commands overlapped. Elias sprinted through the smoke-filled corridor, clutching the stolen plasma pistol. His lungs burned, but adrenaline kept his legs moving. Gotta get out. Gotta get back to the surface. Every step, he expected a plasma bolt to tear him down. Every turn, he expected the Overseer's crimson shadow to block his path. Instead, he found an open hangar. Shuttles rattled as the ship groaned under sabotage. Mechanics screamed in their insectoid tongues. Elias didn't hesitate. He dove into the nearest craft, smashing controls with the butt of his pistol until the engines whined alive. The shuttle ripped free, tumbling through fire into the void. Below, Sereth burned. Entire districts were ash, towers fallen, the desert scarred with craters. Yet somehow, the city still clung to life. Elias gritted his teeth. Hold on, Koresh. He angled the shuttle down, its hull shuddering as it tore through atmosphere. Plasma fire licked past, but the Vadrans were too busy stabilizing their dreadnought to pursue. The craft smashed into the desert half a mile outside the city. Metal. Screamed, sand billowed, but Elias crawled out, coughing, alive. He staggered toward the cliffs, toward the ruins, toward the last hope he could imagine. Asterisk. He found her in the caves. Koresh was smeared in ash, her scales dulled, her robe torn. Yet her eyes lit when she saw him. Elias! She ran, seizing his arm. You're alive, I thought, they said. I'm harder to kill than that. He rasped Dutch, held him tighter, then pulled back, trembling. The city is nearly gone. We can't hold them much longer. Elias nodded grimly. I saw their plan, Koresh. It's not just here. They're moving to wipe out every human colony. They want us erased from the galaxy permanently. Her frills tightened in horror. Then, what do we do? Elias looked past her, deeper into the caves where he had first touched the machine. The memory of that hum still lingered. We find out what the ancients left behind, and we decide if we're strong enough to use it. They descended together, deeper than before. The quake had opened more tunnels, revealing chambers untouched for millennia. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, shifting when Koresh's hands brushed them. The air grew colder, sharper, as though the cave itself inhaled Dot at last. They entered a vast cavern, and there it was. The stellar forge Dot. It was no simple machine. It filled the cavern like a mountain of black crystal and steel, veins of fire pulsing through its core. Around it, suspended in the air, hung fragments of ships, weapons, even skeletal remains preserved as though time itself bent to the forges. Will? Koresh's breath caught. This is impossible. Elias stepped forward slowly. No, this is human. The forge pulsed, and his skin prickled. Images flared across his mind fleets, birthing themselves from nothing. Ships unfolding. Like wings of metal, armies pouring forth at command. Koresh stumbled back, horrified. It creates war fleets, entire armadas. This is what they used to rule the stars. Elias's jaw tightened. This is why they're afraid of us. The forge spoke, not with words, but with a presence that filled Elias's skull. You are? Blood of the Makers. You may command. Shall we awaken? Elias staggered, clutching his head. The voice wasn't one. It was thousands. Echoes of human minds burned into the forge itself. Koresh grabbed his arm. Elias, don't listen. If you command it, you'll become what they were. Conquerors, tyrants. He looked at her, torn. If I don't, the Vadrons burn every human world left. If I do, we risk becoming the monsters they already believe we are. The forge pulsed, hungering. Awaken, awaken. Koresh's eyes shimmered with fear and trust. Elias, you are not them. You can choose another. Way. He wanted to believe her. But outside, he could still hear the distant thunder of bombardment, the screams of survivors. How do you fight a fleet? He whispered, without becoming worse than it. The ground shook violently. Koresh gasped. What's happening? The forge's voice thundered, echoing through stone. Awakening. You touched the heart. The cycle continues. You cannot stop it now. Elias's eyes widened as light poured from the forge, streaking upward through cracks in the rock, firing into the sky like a beacon. Outside, the Seraph and Vadrons alike froze as the black towers blazed alive once more. The desert trembled. As buried machines rose colossal humanoid constructs, armor gleaming, eyes burning with fire older than any empire, the ancients' war constructs had awakened, and they answered to him. Elias fell to his knees, horror crashing over him. No, this isn't what I wanted. Koresh seized his shoulders, desperate. Then stop it, Elias. If you control it, shut it down. But the forge laughed inside his skull. You cannot bury fire. Fire only spreads. Above, the Vadron fleet recoiled in terror as the first war construct stepped free of the desert, a giant of steel and fury, lifting its weaponized arm toward the sky. The galaxy had feared the return of the ancients. Now their fear walked once more. Asterisk, the last choice. Desert split apart. Sand and stone fell away as titans of metal climbed from the depths. Humanoid in shape, each stood hundreds of meters tall, their eyes burning with white fire. Weapons older than empires crackled along their arms. The Vadran fleet faltered. Warships that had moved with perfect discipline now scattered like prey before predators. Koresh clutched Elias's arm, her voice shaking. "They obey you. I can feel it. Elias, you're their master." Elias's stomach churned. "The forges." Voice pressed in like 1,000 whispers. "Command. Destroy. Rule." His hands shook. "I never wanted this. I just wanted to keep people alive." Above, the first Titan raised its arm. A beam of searing energy ripped upward, slicing through. A Vadran cruiser. The ship split in half. Debris falling like meteors. The Ceres survivors in the caves cheered. For the first time, they saw hope. But Elias felt only dread. The Overseer's dreadnought roared to life, weapons blazing at the constructs. Cannons carved craters into the desert, but the Titans barely staggered. Their armor shimmered, repairing itself as though mocking the assault. Koresh shouted over the thunder, "If you don't guide them, they'll kill everything. They don't know mercy. They only know war." Elias gritted his teeth. He reached inside himself, toward the forge's burning presence. The Titans froze mid-stride, their glowing eyes flickering as if waiting. The effort nearly broke him. His skull pounded. His veins felt aflame, but they obeyed. Karesh gasped. You're holding them back." Elias fell to one knee, panting. For now. The Vadran comes blared again across the battlefield, the Overseer's voice raw with fury. "You have unleashed them. Do you not understand? They will not stop with us. They will not stop at all." Elias spat into the sand. "Then maybe you shouldn't have tried to erase us." The Overseer's voice sharpened. "Fool, they destroyed themselves once already. They will do it again through you." The sky turned to war. Titans clashed with ships, their beams carving fire through the clouds. The ground quaked with every step. Entire districts collapsed as constructs strode through ruins, crushing Vadran soldiers like insects. Yet in their fury, they trampled Sereth civilians too. Koresh screamed, pointing families buried as rubble fell. Elias's chest hollowed. This is what they always were. This is why the galaxy still trembles. He forced his mind harder against the Forge's will, straining to pull the Titans back, to shield the innocents. Sweat streamed down his face. His vision blurred red. "Stop!" He roared, and the Titans froze, weapons lowering. The Forge's whispers turned to growls. Asterisk. "Weakness. You deny what you are. You choose compassion over victory. You are unworthy of our fire." Elias gasped, half delirious. "Then take it back. I never wanted your empire." But the Forge didn't retreat. Instead, it expanded. Light poured upward, a beacon stretching into space. Across the galaxy, sleepers stirred forgotten caches, hidden constructs, buried weapons. Humanity's old legacy began to wake in distant corners. Koresh clutched his shoulders, desperate. "Elias, it's not just here. It's everywhere. You can't just resist, you must decide. Either you command them, or you end them." The thought cut deeper than any wound. If he destroyed the Forge, humanity might never rise again. They'd be prey to every empire that wanted them dead. But if he wielded it, humanity would become the nightmare the galaxy always feared. The Overseer's dreadnought descended, shaking the cliffs with its shadow. Through the combs, its voice was almost pleading now. Asterisk, human, listen. Even we the Ascendancy fear what? You woke, help us destroy it. Better you die a memory than live as a plague reborn. Koresh turned to Elias, torn between terror and hope. They're right, Elias, but if you let them erase us, there will be nothing left of humanity. The Forge thundered inside his skull. Choose, fire or ash, dominion or extinction. Elias's breath came ragged. His heart pounded like a war drum. Every survivor's eyes were on him. Seraph, human, even the Vadrons who dared not fire. For the first time in his life, Elias Ward realized the truth. He wasn't just one man anymore. He was history's fork in the road. He rose, trembling, and lifted his hand toward the forge. The Titans knelt, awaiting his command. Koresh whispered, tears in her eyes. "Elias, please, choose mercy." The overseer hissed through cones. A mix of rage and fear. "Choose survival. Burn them all." The forge roared. Elias screamed. Asterisk the Titans lit with white fire, rising to their full terrible height. Every heart in the desert froze. Then the war constructs turned their weapons inward. 1,000 beams of light converged on the forge itself. The cavern shook, splitting open. Energy howled skyward as the stellar forge collapsed, its ancient core shattering. Titans screamed like dying gods as they crumbled into ash and twisted steel. The galaxy's last nightmare was ending by humanity's own hand. But the backlash was a storm. The ground split, entire cliffs falling into fire. Elias was hurled back, Koresh clutching him, both tumbling as the desert itself roared above. The Vadron fleet reeled in shock, come silent, unable to comprehend what they had witnessed. And when the dust cleared, the forge was gone. The Titans were gone. Only Elias remained broken, burned, but alive. Asterisk. We were the Ancient Ones silenced. For the first time since the towers had blazed alive, the desert was still. The air stank of ozone and scorched stone. Dust drifted like ash over the broken cliffs. Elias lay on his back, lungs raw, body trembling. Every bone screamed when he moved. Beside him, Koresh stirred, coughing, eyes wide at the sight of the ruined cavern. The stellar forge was gone. Where once it pulsed like a black sun, now only a crater remained, glowing faintly with dying embers. Koresh whispered, voice breaking, "You destroyed it." Elias forced himself upright, leaning on her. His throat burned as he rasped, "Had to, couldn't let it spread." She stared at him, awe and sorrow mixing in her gaze. "You had power beyond empires, and you chose to end it." He gave a weak laugh, coughing. "Story of my life. Never keep the good stuff." Above, the Vadron dreadnought still hovered, massive and unscarred. Its shadow swallowed the ruins. A transmission cut across the silence. The overseer's voice, no longer triumphant, but uncertain. "Human, you destroyed your own legacy." Elias spat blood into the sand. "You're welcome." The overseer hissed, "Fool, without the forge, you are nothing. The galaxy will tear you apart." Elias's voice hardened. "Maybe, but at least we'll be torn apart as ourselves, not as monsters wearing our ancestors' skins." The cum went silent. Then, astonishingly, the dreadnought began to rise. Engines roared, lifting it back toward the stars. Koresh blinked. "They're leaving?" Elias shook his head, wincing. "Not mercy. Fear. They don't know what else we've hidden. They'll retreat, spread the word. The ancients are back, but not the same." His words rang hollow even to him. He had no ships, no armies, no forge, only survivors and ruins. But sometimes fear of the unknown was stronger than any weapon. Days passed. The fire smoldered out. Survivors crept from caves, rebuilding among the ashes. Koresh worked beside Elias, tending wounds, burying. The dead, her scholarly hands, once only used for scrolls, grew calloused with labor. She never left his side. At night, they sat by the cliff's edge, watching the stars. Koresh asked softly, "Do you regret it? Destroying the forge?" Elias stared upward, his eyes hollow but steady. "Every part of me wanted to use it." to strike. Back, to save everyone with fire. But that's what they did, the ancients. They always thought they could save through conquest. Look where it got them. He let the silence stretch, then whispered, "No, I don't regret it." Koresh touched his arm, her eyes glimmering in the starlight. "Then perhaps the galaxy has nothing to fear. Humanity has changed." Elias managed a faint smile. "We'd better hope they believe that." But beyond Sereth, the galaxy was already stirring. The Vadrins spread their tail. The ancients had returned, then destroyed their own forge. Some empires trembled, others plotted, and still others hungered on hidden human colonies. Whispers spread faster than fire. Farmers, miners, wanderers, ordinary people now carried the weight of a legacy they had never asked for. Some felt pride, others felt dread, and all of them looked to the stars, waiting for what would come next. One night, Koresh found Elias standing alone among the ruins of the cavern. His hand rested on a fragment of black crystal, the last shard of the forge. "Thinking about keeping it?" she asked softly. He shook his head, weary, thinking about what it means. "The galaxy sees us as monsters waiting to wake. Maybe they're right, but maybe they'll see the truth." Koresh stepped closer, her voice gentle. "And what truth is that?" Elias closed his fist around the shard. His voice was low, but carried like iron. "That we were the ancient ones, but this time we'll be something better." The camera of history pulled back, stars wheeling across the black. The galaxy held its breath, waiting. Humanity was no longer forgotten dot, and though the forge was gone, its echoes burned in memory. Dot, the ancients had returned, and the future trembled before them. Epilogue, a whisper of tomorrow, far away. In a dark corner of the galaxy, a listening station caught the dying pulse of the forge. Dot, inside, alien officers exchanged fearful glances. "Should we report this?" one asked. Dot, another hesitated. "If we do, wars will ignite. Empires will panic. But if we don't," a voice cut them off from the shadows. "Send the word. Let them all know." The figure stepped into the light. Human, young, hardened, eyes burning with something between hope and fury. "We're not done." Asterisk.